Oh, fancy. Okay, today we're going to be talking about exploring MyHertiage, Library Edition, and beyond. I will go through basic searching in Library Edition, as well as more options that you can do in the personal account. So, what is MyHertiage Library Edition? The Library Edition features, oops, go back. Thank goodness I can do that. Okay, the Library Edition features over 14 billion primary historical records from the United States, Europe, and other regions, with coverage starting from the 16th century. Often accompanied by true document images, these records illuminate historical realities across a wide variety of regions. And the main reason to use MyHertiage Library Edition, you can access it from home, and that is key. I'm going to play a short intro video, as long as it plays, on using MyHertiage Library Edition.
Well, it's my library. I managed their game. Your ancestors were, and with access to billions of historical records from around the world.
Okay, I'm also going to pull up the chat. So if you have a question on Zoom, just put it in the chat and I will be able to see it. Okay, So to access MyHertiage Library Edition from the Oaklawn Public Library's website, you go to our olpl.org. And under the research tab, you can either go to the A to Z resources or the genealogy tab. You'll see all our genealogy databases and they're in alphabetical order. And you would just hit MyHertiage Library Edition. That will bring you up a login information. If you have a SWAN account, so any library within the SWAN system, you should be able to put in your library card and use that. So we'll do that. Then this page will pop up from APSCO. That's where MyHertiage is coming from. And then you can click MyHertiage Library Edition. And that brings up to the main page. So let's go back here. On the main page is a basic search field as well as browsing by the categories. So first, we're going to go through a basic search in the Library Edition. Basic searching is asking for the name, year of birth, and place. And I'll be using my great-grandfather as an example, Carl Bean. When searching for Carl Bean, we come up with the top results will always be the family tree. So if you're doing a basic search in MyHertiage, they want you to see the family trees first. If you do an advanced search, it's going to limit down and you'll see more actual records at the top. Now, these trees can be from MyHertiage or outside organizations like Family Search. And we can also limit our results by the collection, which is on the left-hand side here. But first, we're going to actually look at a MyHertiage family tree results in the Library Edition. And this is actually from my own family tree, Bean Searching a While family tree. Play on words. Okay. So the search results will tell me the name and a summary of the information that is contained in that record. So name, birth, death, parents, siblings, wife, children, and also an image if someone has uploaded an image to their family tree. Within the results, you're given what collection it comes from, which is the MyHertiage family tree, as well as any extra information that you might see. So for example, you'll see that Carl Bean Sr., it's not marked senior here because there's a long convoluted explanation why he's not really a senior and my grandfather's not technically a junior, but they are. So my great-grandmother, when she was filling out the birth certificates, the delayed birth certificates, she switched middle and first name. So technically my grandfather was Joseph Carl and not Carl Joseph until he entered the Army. And at that time, his father had already passed, but he became a junior, but they never officially made Carl Joseph Bean Sr. Okay. It's confusing, I know. Don't name your kids the same. Also, don't have the same birthdays as your kids either. That's hard. So you'll see that Carl Bean is a painter in Louisville, as well as his marriage date to Bessie Pickering. And once we scroll down on the page, the entry page, you're going to find a list of the family members that have been linked to this man. By clicking the names, you'll be sent to the entry page for that person on that same family tree. We also have what MyHertiage calls Record Detective. So similar to Ancestry and Family Search, MyHertiage provides other possible records that match the record you are currently viewing. So this might be records that are about that person or mention that person in that record. Next up, we are going to explore the results by a collection. So we're going to select birth, marriage, and death on that left side, and that will give us results. Top results will be a marriage record from MyHeritage, Billions Graves record, and a US Social Security death index on MyHeritage. First, we're going to be focusing on that marriage record from Indiana. So you may have noticed that there are stars below that person's name. Those stars is the estimation that the record is for the correct person. It's MyHeritage thing. They say, well, this record is a 2.5 stars. Like it might be that person, but we're not quite sure. Although it is low, I can see from that entry that it does include a birth date and the wife's name. Each record will give you information about the collection, a transcript of what the record entails. So this is from Indiana marriages from 1811 to 1859. And when you click the little I next to it, it tells you what that collection is. And here is the transcript for that record. And then it might give you an image if the image is included. So this marriage record does include the image. So I have enlarged that image. And in the large image, you can see that it does say Carl Bean and Bessie Pickering, where they were born, what day that they were born. It will include occupations if there are any, as well as parents' names. When you enlarge a record, when you enlarge a record, you can zoom in, you can print it, and you can save it as a PDF only. In MyHeritage Library Edition, you can only do PDFs of records. In the paid version, you do get images. Now we're going to go for browsing by collection. MyHeritage has the typical collections you would find on other genealogy sites and platforms, including census, immigration, vitals, and public records. However, MyHeritage does have a large collection of records from Europe because MyHeritage is also based in Europe. They include Nordic census records, France's naturalizations, Germans, Italians, and Russians immigrating to the US, as well as Greece directories. As with other genealogy platforms, you can browse by the location. You can browse records from regions and countries. For example, I have selected Europe on the screen. That's going to give me all the countries in Europe, and then I'm going to select Poland, and that will limit to Poland. I then can search all the records pertaining to Poland or limit to Polish collections. So next up, I'm actually going to give you a demonstration of the advanced search because that's a little more intuitive than just the family trees. So let me switch over to genealogy. So MyHeritage Library Edition. So this is the main page. And if you click advanced search, that's going to give you an option to add more information. So I am going to use my husband's great grandfather, Edward Yuseco. And I'm going to put in his birth date, which is 1896. And he was born in Poland and or Austria, depending on what year you're talking about. And then I'm also going to add his spouse, Catherine, to here so that I can limit the information, or limit the records that I'm getting. Okay, and I'm going to click search. So that brings up some census records, as well as a draft registration. And then if I scroll down, we've got some US Social Security applications and claims. And then if you get further down, you get other results that pertain to what they think Yuseco could be spelled as. Okay. So the first one I'm going to look at is this draft registration. So I'm going to click on his name. So we see that it says that it's coming from the United States World War I draft registration, 1917 to 1918. If I click on the little I, that gives me the information about that collection, and I can also do just searching in that collection if I wanted to. And then we have the indexing of the film. It gives us the source that it came from. And here they do have the image. So what I'm doing is going to click on this little square up here to make it larger. And here I can zoom in. And see that it has his name, his age, where he's from currently, when he was born, if he's naturalized or not naturalized, where he was born. So here it says Austria, his occupation, who's his employer, and if he has anyone that's dependent on him, which is his father and mother, marital status, race, and this who's been in the military before. And then on the back, if I scroll over, it's going to give information about his appearance. From here, I can click the little print icon. That allows me to print it into a printer or save it as a PDF. Like I said, you cannot do an image from MyHertiage Library Edition. And then I can click Exit Full Screen. Then I'm going to go back to our results, and I'm going to show you what it looks like for a census. So we're going to do the 1930 census. That is when the Yuseco family arrived in Chicago. So it gives a birth, a residency, status of marriage, and when he immigrated. So like before in the registration, I can click that little arrow. For census records, it does give you a little information about that household, and you can click exit to close that out. You can zoom in like before. Let's see. One bad thing about MyHertiage is they don't highlight where someone is located in the record, like Ancestry will do. Okay, here we go. So we have Edward with Catherine with a C this time. And then they also have his mother-in-law, so Catherine's mother living with them. That is supposed to be Waxmunska. I have no idea what they spelled there, so. And her name is Tekla or Tilly, which it looks like Lily in here. All right, so that's an advanced search, and I went through the basic search in MyHertiage Library Edition. Does anyone have questions about the Library Edition? It's pretty basic with searching and everything like your other ones like Ancestry and Family Search. If you do look for, if you find a record that has an image, you can grab that image too. And I'll show you the one that was for my great-grandfather. So I have in family trees. I have an image that I applied to his account on his profile. I can click on that and zoom it in. Don't ask why it's sideways. That's a MyHertiage problem, not mine. But you can save that photo, download if you want. And I allow that on my site. You don't have to allow that if you don't want to. And that's only for those that are living, not deceased. I mean, only deceased, not living. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go back. So MyHertiage private accounts. So each private account in MyHertiage gets one site, family site, and then you can have as many trees on that site. If you allow it, your site and its trees can be seen by others on MyHertiage, and this allows it to be searchable in the MyHertiage Library Edition. And this is what my family site, Being Searching a Wild Family Tree, looks like. So I know you're wondering, why did I choose MyHertiage as the place to put my family tree? Way back in 2005, I was given the task by my mother to create her family tree using the Family Tree Builder on CD. It wasn't a floppy disk, thank God. It was a CD. And when they actually moved to the online platform of MyHertiage, I just moved with them because it became easier to be searching on the online platform than in the downloadable now or CD at the time. Oops, sorry. Also, I've used their DNA test kits for all of my DNA tests, and it actually allows me to connect that to my family tree, as well as share that results within that person's DNA. I also find it easier to link the records in MyHertiage, especially when it's to multiple people at one time. So say that you have a birth certificate, I can link both the person that's the birth certificate's about, as well as the mother and father. And it's always good to use multiple genealogy platforms or resources because you have different indexers for each platform. So someone that might have indexed this one record for you spelled your last name completely off, or you have someone else that's spelled it correct or closer to what is actually spelled. So let me go through what a family site entails. So each MyHertiage account, free or paid, because you can have a free account in MyHertiage, has a family site. On the site is where your family tree and photos live. You get to determine if you want to share that tree and photos with others. And each site includes your recent news to your site, which is something that either you've added or people joining your site. Family members may ask to join your site, but you don't have to allow them to join. By joining a site, you get notified via email when there are updates to that site. They do not get to edit your trees or your photos, just to be clear. And MyHertiage also keeps track of how many people visit your site. So your landing page or your home screen is where you're going to where you go for visiting your site. So this doesn't look the same if someone's visiting your site because they won't have all that information of your notifications. So it includes notifications, navigation through the MyHertiage services, site information, basic search box, and recent activity to your site or trees. And that activities includes any members you've added, records you have attached, and photos that you've uploaded. So navigation through MyHertiage. That top bar is a toggle. You can toggle between your family tree. So if you've joined someone else's family site, you have a toggle that you can go to their site. If you belong to other sites, and the next up is your smart matches, and those matches are from other MyHertiage family trees. And then you have record matches, which are suggested records of people you've entered in your family tree. And then you have your DNA matches. You can also change your settings, see what messages other people have been sending you, as well as their help section. In their help section, they have a help center and a knowledge base, which both includes articles on how to use MyHertiage as well as video tutorials. Next up is the menu bar. The menu bar contains a home button, which will go back to your family site. It also allows you to explore family events, invite family and site members, as well as your family statistics, which I'll show you in a moment. Family tree, the family tree button includes your tree as well as any photos and charts and books and importing and managing your trees. You can also check for inconsistencies within that family tree. Discoveries will be your records and smart matches. Here you can limit by person and source. And then there is an instant discovery, which is a package of family history information that you can apply to your family tree just in one click. MyHertiage has added many of their features to the photos. That's why there's a new button there. Photos you can colorize, enhance, and animate, as well as do a deep story. So someone's life story into a video. And then they also added something new called AI Time Machine, which takes your photos and recreates them to make it look like you're in a different time period. There's also the DNA, which have your DNA matches as well as any tools. And then research is where you're going to find your basic and advanced searching, like in the library edition. So first off, we're going to compare the researching in MyHertiage paid accounts or free accounts. So the researching can be done searching all records or browsing their collection. They also allow you to hire a researcher, and they have something new called a census helper. And I will be using my great-grandfather to do the research because that's what I did on the other one. So let me go to the paid account. And bear with me for a second. There we go.
How much do you pay each year to be a member?
That's a good question, Kathy. I think it's because I have backup on mine, so I allow them to do backups on my family tree, so it's a little more expensive. I think the last payment I did was $150 for the year, but that allows me to have the extra searching as well. It's like a deep dive searching. Okay. So here's my main library page. I'm not library page, my main family site page. I do have another site that I do belong to. So that's where I can toggle back and forth. So let me just do the basic searching in here. I'm going to type in Carl Bean. Kentucky. So like in the other basic searching, what pops up is family trees first. But as always, you can narrow the collection down. The key thing here is that they do add like the advanced searching options at the top, so you can easily add something if you wanted to. So I'm going to turn this basically into an advanced search in one step by clicking spouse and typing in spouse's name. Bessie Pickering. So obviously still comes up from family search, some family trees, but we are going to scroll down these records. And maybe I don't want to keep scrolling or anything, and I want to do collection, and I'm going to do birth, marriage, and death. So here's that Indiana marriage one that we saw in the library edition. But what I'm looking for is where Carl Joseph Bean shows up in a random Arizona birth certificate. I want to view that record, so I'm going to click View Record. And the other difference between MyHertiage Library Edition and paid is that I actually get the information about that collection right off the bat. I don't have to hit that little I button. So I know that's coming from Arizona birth certificates, 1887 to 1935. And then on the side, it tells me what that collection's about. So I do have the transcript here as well as looking at that image. So I'm going to click the make the large image. That's going to pull this up, and I can once again zoom in, zoom out. I'm going to zoom in. So we have Arizona, where it came from in Chandler, Carl Joseph Bean, Bessie Pickering. So like I know this is the same people. And then it does give me his name, Worley Bean, which is my great uncle. Funny story, they had to move out to Arizona for TB. Bessie's father had TB, so that's why one child is born in Arizona. But here you do see that I can print it like the other one, but there is a download button. So if I click download, it's going to actually give me the image of that record. If I go back, I'm going to click exit full screen. So what you didn't see on the library edition, but you do see in the paid accounts or the free accounts, is the save the record button. If I click save the record, it's going to say, hey, who do you want to save that to your tree? It's going to find like someone that's obviously them, or you can add a person or select someone else. So I'm going to show you the steps of going to actually adding it to that tree. So I'm going to click continue. Okay. Then it gives me what's in my family tree versus what's said in the Arizona certificate record. And if you notice something odd, is it says that it's Worley Bean, but I'm doing Carl Joseph Bean. That's because when I was looking at that record, it's technically under Carl Joseph Bean because that's who I searched for and that's who they found. So at this point, I'm like, oh no, I picked the wrong person. I meant to pick his father. I mean, his child. So I can go back. I don't have to go through with extracting it. But you'll notice that it says this record was saved, so I'd have to go back and delete it from them. Okay. Where's the record? Okay. Sorry. So let me go to the Census Helper. Let me explain what Census Helper is. So under the research button, if you click Census Helper, the Census Helper is a very unique tool to actually MyHertiage. It scans your entire family tree and then compiles a list of possible relatives that might be in a census. So it makes the searching very focused to the census. It's also not limited to US Census. So if you see this drop down arrow where it says 1900 US Census, if you scroll down, we have England and Wales Census, Canadian Census, Ireland, Scotland, and Denmark, and Norway, and France. So I don't have any relatives in these areas, but if I did, I would click like Scottish census. It's going to look into my tree and be like, there might be this person living here and it might be on that census. It's going to take a while because I don't have any, but I am going to show you what it looks like for the 1950 census. So MyHertiage says that I could have a possibly 410 people for my family tree in the 1950 census. First up, I'm going to show you the one that I know for sure, which is my grandmother, Faye Marie Merritt. So on the side, I can click research, which will scan the 1950 census. But you'll notice that there is a little brown image next to that research button. Oops. So if you click that, that is a record match. That means that they know for sure that is who that is. So we have in my tree, Faye Marie Merritt, and on the 1950 census, we have a Faye M. Merritt, a birth, where she was born, residency in 1950, what her age would have been, race, marital status, and anyone else living in that household, which we have her husband and daughter. So in the private accounts for MyHertiage, you'll see a confirm match. There's also a down arrow that says automatically save it to your tree. Don't do that. Review the information first. So we're going to confirm match. This gives me what's in my tree versus what's in the 1950 census. And we have confirmed that it is Faye Marie Shern, born Shern is Merritt, and Faye M. Merritt on the census. Scroll down, birth, I apparently don't have it, but I can click the little plus, little check mark, and it gives that information onto my tree. We can do residency. And I do have the check mark so that it does have the source cited when it's in my tree. Then it's also said, would you like to add this information to other relatives that are on the census? So we have Robert William Merritt. I can do, don't do that. Their daughter. If I didn't want to go through and click all those check marks, I could have extracted all info, but I want to review what's in it before I put it in my tree, and then save the tree. Okay. And then back over to our slideshow. We went through the census helper. Okay, so other added search features. So we have instant discoveries. And like I said, instant discoveries are packages of family history information that you can apply to your family tree just in one click. However, be wary because these discoveries are all from MyHertiage member trees. MyHeritiage member trees are not vetted. Anyone can add any information they want. If you do add the information, make sure you go through each entry before saving it. Same goes with our smart matches, which are matches from other member family trees. However, it's one entry at a time, and you can go through the information without just saving it. Record matches are matches MyHertiage has found that could be possibly for the members of your family. So I'm going to show you instant. So under discoveries, you have matches by people and matches by source. Up here, you can click records or smart matches. They all go to the same location. But when you click the buttons up here at the top, it is only to people, not by source. Instant discoveries, like I said, are package deals. So down here, let's show you. We have, for this, they're like, well, we could add 6 new people to your tree, but I want to do it individually. But if you want to do it together, that's fine. So for people are smart matches, and then we can do record matches. But let me show you by source. So sources showing you what records you might have in each individual source that they have here. And I'm going to do the 1930 census. So it says I have one new one since I logged in. So I can review the 26 matches that they have. It shows me what's in my tree versus what's on the historical record. I can click one like James Pickering here. That's coming from the 1930 census. I can click review match. Tells me what's in my tree once again and what information that it's going to be pulled. And then I can click confirm match, and that's where I'm going to compare and contrast what's in it and click save. Right. Back to our slideshow. So family trees in MyHertiage are unlimited with a paid account, but if you have a free account, you're limited to only 250 people in your tree. You can view your tree as family, pedigree, fan, list. You can also create and print charts and books. You can also request a poster be printed from MyHertiage. In the family view, you'll be able to see suggested records and DNA test results. And let me show you what that actually looks like. So this is my family tree. By each individual person, you'll see a little brown, a little brown image. That means that there is a record match that I can review, as well as the little DNA matches I can review. It also shows you upcoming birthdays, which mine is March 25th, if anyone wants to know. It also does anniversaries as well with, they're like little balloons. You can also see the profile picture that you have and easily edit the entry by adding new ones. Also, under the family tree menu, you can check the inconsistencies of your tree. So next up, we'll be talking about the photos that you can add. Sure.
You're on. Can anybody go in and find?
No. As long as you're not anyone that's deceased, they can find. You can also have a setting on there that they can only see so many generations. No. Although there is a mistake on here that I can't figure out how to change. I merged my trees. I had like 4 different trees that I was working on. And when I got married, I decided that I only want one tree. And I merged them all. And it keeps saying my grandfather's dead. I have no idea why. I've changed it 5, 6 times. I'm going to have to contact them. But normally it won't show it. I don't know what's up there. Yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, if I do allow someone to see my tree as well, like they're on my site, they can't see any living person. Yeah, I'm the only person. Or if I give permission, like my brother can see my tree because he has DNA there, I gave him that kind of permission. It's all up to you. So photos. Photos that you have uploaded, as well as anything that you have colorized, enhanced, animated, if you want to do that scary thing, as well as what's called deep story. So deep story is MyHertiage taking all the information about a relative. It has to be a deceased relative as well. And any of the photos that you have uploaded and tag them in it. And then it creates a video of that person's life. And then they also had that AI time machine, which is the newest feature that MyHertiage added. It was a free service for a promotional period and then they turned it off, and now it's a paid. Luckily, I did get myself a photo. It's like Welsh as me, like I am Welsh. I don't know. It looked cool. I liked it. Let me show you some photos on here. So under my photos, I'm going to go to my photos, and I'm going to show you how to upload. Don't mind all the photos. These are what I had to upload for the AI time machine. It's not that I love myself that much. So I can upload a photo. And I'm just going to select. I'm apparently too large for that photo. But pretend I uploaded this photo and then I want to go and colorize it. So I'm going to scroll down where I did actually colorize it. I'll select this one. So when I'm viewing the photo, I have the option to repair. And you notice that I did have a tear in this photo, and they have repaired it. And then maybe I want to enhance it. Maybe, depending on how long it takes. Oh, there we go. So you know this is kind of blurry, but when they kind of helped it. It's a very old photo, so. And then let me go back to my photos. And I'm going to show you an animation. Yes, it's very creepy. So these are my grandparents, and I have animated my grandfather. Let's see if it plays for me. Okay, there we go. And it just turns that photo into an animation. It gets better. Trust me. Next up, I'm going to show you Deep Story. So like I said before, it takes someone's life story in your tree, takes all the photos you've tagged of them, and creates a video of their story.
I'm not going there. Telling the story of my life. It started when I was born on June 7, 1921, in Richmond. I married my sweetheart, Faye Marie Sharon, on May 10, 1947, at age 25. I still remember it as if it were yesterday. She was born in 1928. She was 18 years old when we married, 7 years younger than me. We had 6 children: Rose, David, Linda, Billy, Pamela, and Deborah. Faye and I had 11 lovely grandchildren. We had Anthony, Cinnamon, Delilah, and Danielle from our daughter Rose. We had Melinda and April from our daughter Linda. From our son Billy, we had Daniel. We had Brenda and Doris from our daughter Pam. And last but not least, we had Timothy and Jennifer from our daughter Deborah. I'm glad I could share my deep story with you. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
So it's nice and all. It's freaky to see a man talk that you haven't seen since like 1995. Okay, next up, let me go back. So like I said before, I have used MyHertiage DNA kits for all of my DNA results. And MyHeritiage ethnicity estimates are always evolving with the added DNA clusters that they have. So one of the, oops, sorry. So let me tell you about one of the genetic groups that they have that I've discovered with my husband's family. And then ethnicity estimates. I can actually scroll down on the side here to see additional genetic groups. One of the groups that they have is from Poland, and Narved Tark, I think that's how you pronounce that. So if you click on that, it's going to give you a detail about that genetic group. So it's those people that came from Poland and Slavica, okay, and their descendants that actually moved to Pennsylvania and Illinois. And then also they tell you how many kits they have gathered from that genetic group and how many of those kits are actually linked in family trees on MyHeritiage. You can also compare and contrast some DNA matches. So I'm going to compare and contrast my father-in-law and my husband. I can click review DNA matches. So that's taking his father and him, putting together, seeing what relationship they have, as well as possible relationships that they share. I'm not going to mention one that's at the very top, which is my husband's maternal grandmother, and apparently is the third cousin of his father. So that's fun to understand. But you can also click on any of these to compare them. And I also can add a label. So maybe you're looking for just your maternal family line. So I could go to My DNA. Go to My Mother, review DNA matches. As long as okay, comes up. And then I can label all these maternal because I know that they are coming from my mom because I've done both her and me together. And I want to mention my brother's more like my mother than me. So that's all I have to say. And that is my presentation on MyHeritiage Library Edition as well as the private accounts. Are there any questions? And in Zoom, you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Do you get contacting you?
I have, I've gotten them more for my in-laws. And I haven't responded to all of them. But sometimes it's like, I think this person's my cousin. And then I'm like, okay, I'll ask.
And maybe I shouldn't be, I don't know. But seems like all the DNA units I'm getting now are like 50 to 80 cousins. A lot of people don't respond. Emails either.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so I do have a lot of them that are third and fifth cousins. Not a lot of times that they answer back if I ask them a question, which I mean, I don't answer those often if I don't know a connection. Like I did have one that matched with my mother and had reached out, and I gave them a list of what family names I had, but they're like, I don't think that that's in there anywhere. And I'm like, I'm sorry, maybe expand your family tree. That's all I got. Like, that's all I can go back. But I know some people that have reached out because they were very close. They had a half sister, half brother kind of relationship on there. And also those relationships is listed on MyHertiage. They're suggestions. They're not always right. One of them says my maternal cousin, first cousin, is my great aunt. Sure. I corrected it, but they're still like, they're probably your great aunt. I'm like, I know for sure that her mother's my aunt.
Do you find, I guess I'm trying to think about ancestry versus this. With ancestry, you know, if I get my DNA results, a lot of times there's no tree. And 23andMe, my brother and sister did it. And then there's this part where you can put down, you know, return, you know, wherever they were born and so on.
Mhm.
Is this about, do people with their DNA also a high percentage of them have their tree, or do they just I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Trees and DNA together.
So yes and no. So to find out if they have a tree, you do have to like click on them. And sometimes they do. So like this person only has a tree with one person in it. Is them. Yeah. And like my cousin also did it where she's just her and her parents. That's all she listed in there. But there are some that do have larger family trees. It's usually the people that have images. She has 7, but you can always download this DNA. And one feature about MyHertiage is you can upload your DNA data. It doesn't matter where you got it. If you got it from Ancestry, you got it from 23andMe, wherever you did it, you can upload it here. And like, I think on here, it does mention I took my grandfather's DNA. Oops. Oh, yeah. So he's the first one I did because I wanted, you know, Y-DNA testing. And I did submit his to a larger genetic group that is managed by another group that I belong to, which is the Clan MacBean, which is anyone that's related to beans in Scotland. We used to be MacBeans. So that's managed by them, and they allowed me to confirm what level I was on their family tree. What he was, not me, because that's not my DNA. So. But I do have a second cousin once removed that has added some family tree people. It's always hit and miss. A lot of times that you're going to find that third or fifth cousin, or like further back, that's they just started out and they don't know where to do. So they're like, oh, I got this DNA kit. Help me. I think you're my cousin. I can't help you if you don't know something. Names. I need names.
Jenny, I have a question.
Sure, Peg.
If I came in a little bit late, so I apologize. You may have already answered this, but how do you track the program, like in Family Tree Maker or in some other program, or do you just leave it in MyHertiage?
So I do leave it in MyHertiage because I do like the online aspect. But I do have Family Tree Builder on my computer because that's how I had to merge my my family tree. So I had like 4 or 5 different family trees I was managing, and when I got married, I went to just the one. Because it made it more sense than having to go back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. That goes to that site. But I do have the family builder. Oh, there it is. It popped down here instead. Oh, okay. So I don't do any of the managing on the sorry, it's yelling at me. It's like, I need to update. Okay, stop. On the app, but I do have it on my computer if I need to ever use it. There, like that merging aspect, you have to do it with the app. You can't do it on the website.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? If I do decide that I'm searching on MyHertiage Library Edition just for the fun of it one day, and I find a record I like, then I will go and search it in the my personal account to add it to the tree.
Okay.
If there's no more questions, I can stop the recording, and thank you all for coming.